Hello and welcome back to the Metropolitan Culture Corner. So today is one of those days when it's gray, it's kind of rainy, you feel like you want to be in bed, but I got out of bed, I put on makeup because I'm totally excited to interview our interview subject this month on the Metropolitan Culture Corner, Chris White. Born in Canton, Mississippi, and now based in Barcelona, Chris White is an artist, poet, writer, and immigration attorney. Multifaceted. She takes her artistic inspiration from the world of music, from the rhythms of blues, gospel, jazz, and her work in painting, poetry, and textile weaves together personal experiences with a collective narrative, with the experience of being a human being on this crazy planet, and all the good and all the bad that goes along with it. At the heart of her artistic practice lies what she calls a dialogue with the soul, a reclamation of memory, voice, and presence, opening up a space for transformation and for healing. Her latest exhibition here in Barcelona was titled The Body Keeps the Score, and it showcased her mixed media practice combining African wax textiles, poetic inscriptions, ancestral symbols, and bright colors. In Chris's own words, each piece is an act of memory that explores trauma and healing from a psychological and a somatic perspective, creating bridges between the individual and the collective. Chris has also had artistic residencies and solo shows in Mexico, in Italy, in Costa Rica. But even after seeing all those beautiful places, her heart was drawn to Barcelona, and we are lucky that she decided to adopt us, and it has been her home since 2018. The exhibit in Studio 46 in Gracia will be closed by the time this interview is published, unfortunately, but you can check out her work on her website, which we will link in the description below. Chris is an example of someone with her own personal visual vocabulary and who uses that vocabulary to express something that's both highly personal, but that's also very accessible and very cool, I have to say. Her work is really evocative, so I encourage you to check it out. And she should be here any second, so please welcome Chris White to the Metropolitan Culture Corner.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm wonderful. You?
I'm happy that we were able to connect. So before I ask you about your work as a visual artist, I thought it was interesting to see that you are an immigration lawyer and activist. You studied law at the University of Mississippi. So what made you decide to go into immigration law? How long did you practice?
So I'll start with the first question. I am still a lawyer. I've switched kind of to humanitarian mostly, but I do still want to exercise that side of my brain. And I got into immigration law just by happenstance. I've always been and always wanted to be a civil rights attorney, but immigration wasn't a topic that was highly discussed in Mississippi. So until I moved from Mississippi to Dallas, Texas, which was the exact same year that I graduated, I had no idea immigration really was this huge topic or how it was so geopolitical. And I kind of just fell into business immigration. And then from there, I decided to do family immigration. And now that's the work that I do.
So you're still licensed to practice in Texas then?
Texas and Mississippi, yes.
Then it's a pretty big shift to move from focusing on that to focusing, if not exclusively, then at least largely on visual art. I'm not sure if there's an easy answer to say, how did that happen? But how did that happen?
And I'm gonna be honest with you, I have always been an artist in some type of form. I think though that being a lawyer was just seen as more predominantly authoritative role, more so than being an artist. And I never really saw visual artists around me. So it was easy to just segue into one field and then just kind of put all my studies there. But after I went back and looked at my university transcript, I realized that, girl, you took a lot of art classes. You were always kind of really interested in it. You just didn't know. And then I think I had chosen to step away from being a lawyer just briefly, like a month or two. And it kind of just all came out. And this is 10 years ago when I realized that I could draw. The world kind of opened up to me in a way where then colors started feeling differently. And I started resonating with textures. And from there, it just took off. It's difficult now to switch back and forth, easier than it was before. But when you discover a part of yourself that was kind of hidden, it takes a while to get comfortable in that new self, in this transformed self. So I think that's what I am doing right now.
And do you feel like the things that you have studied outside of art have also fed back into how you're able to shape your career as a professional artist?
Girl, yes. It's impossible for it not to. All of it's me, you know what I mean? Just this beautiful contradiction, but masterpiece of art itself. Everything for me feeds each other. It's like a cycle. So the legal work feeds the motivation to want to create because I need a release, you
Mhm.
know? And then that analytical side of me while I'm releasing is working, but it's a little bit more quiet, but not realizing until after you go back and analyze your work, that analytical side is thoroughly involved too, you know? It is definitely a very complex interweb up here. I'm working it out every day.
Well, I think that if you weren't complex in that sense, then it wouldn't be very interesting in terms of art. It's part of the job description, right?
True, very true.
I want to talk about your new exhibit, which just was last week as of the taping of this interview. But before that, you've also had exhibitions in other countries, but it's Barcelona that's become your adopted home. So why Barcelona? Is there something particular that drew you to the art scene here, or it was random, or was there a particular reason?
So I visited Barcelona in 2018. It's not the fact that I just fell in love with the city. It was more so just this feeling of connection that I just can't really explain. It's just I knew I was coming back.
Hmm.
Okay. I had no plans. I had just opened my own law firm. So of course I'm like, what does that mean? I don't know. I had no idea that life would shift so much. And so COVID, it helped most people change their perspective about life. It also changed my perspective about life and what I really wanted for myself and what I knew that I could become. And I knew Barcelona would foster that because it has. The feeling just led me here, and I said, I'm going to go with it. Before I got here, as you mentioned, I had an exhibition in Oaxaca. The feeling led me to Oaxaca too, and it just happened to be the hotel that I was staying at offered me a residency there and an exhibition to showcase to their clients in the city. So it was like, okay, well, I'm just going to go with this because it feels good and it feels like this is where I'm supposed to be. Feels like destiny.
A lot of artists, if you ask them whether we're talking about music, we're talking about visual art, creative minds in general often will say, I made a certain decision because I felt like that's where I needed to go. And I don't know if that's something that everybody feels or not, but it seems to be a very common thread within the creative world, at least.
Well, that also really helps because it makes me feel like I'm not crazy. Because to tell a lawyer, oh, it was a feeling, they're like, but Christy, like, what about the analytical side of what you're doing?
Speaking of following your instincts, right? I was really interested, really fascinated when I was reading about your exhibit, which I was sorry to miss, The Body Keeps the Score, which is also the title of one of your paintings. Because it said, I'm going to read this, textiles, poetry, and ancestral symbols intertwine to transform trauma into beauty and resilience. So it's one thing to make the leap from this highly analytical, as we've discussed, found my own law firm mentality to an artist living in Barcelona. But then on top of that, there's all these layers that have to do with psychology, healing. I mean, how do all these things come together for you in your work? I don't know if this is a recent development or if the idea of healing through art has always been part of your practice.
Healing and therapy was the bridge. It's the bridge, and it's still the bridge between the analytical and the creative. At the age of 30, I decided to heal my inner childhood trauma. And upon doing that, my therapist, the language in which she spoke to me, the language in which she helped me understand myself and understand the things that I went through was through books because of the analytical. So The Body Keeps the Score was one of the books that she shared with me, and it really resonated within me. And so I say to anybody, if you have ever experienced trauma, especially if you have PTSD of any sort, The Body Keeps the Score is such a beautiful Bible and contextual work to help you understand what's going on with your brain and with your body. And so I started really doing visual arts during therapy. And that's when I started getting commissions and selling work. I considered myself an artist, but I wasn't a full-time artist yet. And so my therapist, she kind of helped me understand that there are different sides to a person. And one of my sides is that I'm artistic and that I'm a creative. And I need to explore that because I've never gotten the opportunity or space for that side of me to exist. And so from there, I decided to travel the world. I did a couple of art residencies in different places in the world, and I found me, all of me. I was able to put all the pieces back together. So therapy has always been in my art, and it always will be because it's always coming from that lens.
The book that you mentioned is by a Dutch American psychiatrist whose name is Bessel van der Kolk, if I said that properly. The researcher who's known for exploring the effects of trauma on the human brain. As you were reading this book, was your response to say, I need to now express what I feel in art? Or did you take some time to process what he was laying out before you could channel it into something that was a visual representation?
Actually, the latter. It actually came out mostly as poetry as I was reading the book and healing. And until I was able to actually face the knowledge, it's crazy because when your healing is in pieces, right? Like it doesn't all just
Right.
happen at once. And so until I was able to really face that this big scary monster was this big scary monster, I wasn't able to express it visually. During this time, I was still painting because I was painting for other people, so I was painting what they wanted, but I was never painting what I was feeling. After I left the US, I said, you know what? I'm gonna try to paint what this feels like. And I then got the journal that I had when I was going to therapy and I read through it. Sometimes it's not until you're actually going through something where you're like, okay, I gotta release this emotion. And so the universe clearly heard me say, I need to paint through this. This is where this beautiful collection of The Body Keeps the Score comes from.
I don't know your personal experience growing up, but in a lot of families, there's approval when the smart, beautiful daughter decides to go to law school, and maybe there's more of a raised eyebrow and question mark when she decides to follow her passion and do something that she feels really strongly about. Did you experience support from your family when you decided to follow this other path that meant so much to you?
I experienced immense support from everybody, even when at first my mom didn't even understand why I was just going to drop my entire life and move across the ocean when I know no one here. She's like, why would you do that? But at the same time, because of the fact that I decided I wanted to be a lawyer very young and then did it and then succeeded, they were like, hey, when she says she wants to do something, she's gonna do it and she's gonna knock it out of the park. So I think we should just allow her the space. So they were super supportive. As soon as I got here, my sister and my best friend came to check on me maybe like 3 months in. I didn't even have an apartment yet. And then the following next year, my mom and my aunt came for a month. And I expect to have more family members as the years go by here. I am very grateful, beyond grateful, to have the support to say, hey, I want to change everything as we know it in this entire family and unroot it and send it across the country, you know?
Well, that's really special. So you mentioned your poetry, and I know that in the inauguration that you just had at Studio 46, you also collaborated with a violinist reciting poetry. What role does music have in your work? And also, do you feel like all these things, music, jazz, poetry, visual art, do you feel like they're all connected, or are they kind of separate branches of a tree?
Music plays a huge role in my life. I definitely grew up in church, so I was in the choir since I was a little bitty girl all the way. And I mean, like, not just the church choir, but also the school choir where you're singing Latin and harmonizing. Taking also jazz, tap, ballet. Like, my mama had us in everything. I was in everything as a kid. So it definitely it has shaped who I am today and why everything is inspiration for me, mainly the arts. And so, yeah, they play a huge role in my life. Number one, I'm from Mississippi. It would be very hard to find somebody from Mississippi where music doesn't play a huge role in their life, just because it is part of the soil, it's part of the land. I think your other question. Oh, and they're interconnected.
Or are they connected, or they just all kind of exist in the
Oh,
same?
they're all connected. They do not exist as separate branches. All of them are just pieces of me that I've explored throughout my life. And I feel like art, whether it be music, whether it be visual, whether it be dance, is a language. And it's a language that I fluently speak in a way that I didn't even know that I could speak it. You know what I mean? It's not like learning a new verbal language. It's something that is ancestral, that's within you. For me, all of it connects.
And when you are talking about this kind of collective unconsciousness and like kind of these African symbolism that ends up being a part of your work, is that something that's come from something you feel, or are you telling a particular story that relates specifically back to your family?
I think it's both. And it's so interesting that you say collective unconscious, because this entire summer is all a bit about Carl Jung and like my shadow selves. And so this collective unconscious, I think, is the overarching symbol of any artist's work, because it connects you with the world in such a seamless way, connects you with other humans in a seamless way, but it comes from the lens of your story. So that's why I'm fascinated about visual art, because you don't even have to know the artist's story, but for some reason, sometimes you become so connected to it and it's emotional to you and you feel it and it's your own story, but this invisible thread has connected you and the painter. That's where my inspiration lies. It lies within that invisible thread.
People who maybe aren't familiar with these works might think that they sound so totally unrelated to painting, but it makes total sense to me. So And this connection with real people, when you were in your inauguration, you're reciting poetry, there's a violinist next to you, there's people close to you, there's your art on the walls in front of them, a live experience, real art made by real people. We live in this world that's increasingly focused on a more digital experience, which is ironic because we're speaking across a screen right now. But especially when it comes to art created by people versus art created by AI or something, I noticed that all of your works are authenticated with what's called a digital biometric password. Biometric
Smart.
passport. Yeah.
Yes.
This idea of a biometric passport for art to make sure that what people are purchasing, if they want to take one of your works home, to make sure it's authentic, made by you. How does that work? And how do you feel about the impact of tech on the world of art in
It
general?
is inevitable because change is inevitable. And to not change with the world is naive. And so I feel as if I'm going to be involved in AI in any way, I want to do it ethically. And Smart Stamp is that. It's about protecting artists' works. At this point, you're going to have to decide how you want to use AI. And I hope that everyone chooses to use AI ethically. One of my goals is to build generational wealth in the Black community. And the most protected way to do that is to make sure that my work is protected. So as it moves throughout time and moves throughout generation, it's also able to continue to provide those families with assets to build generational wealth. And I can't do that if I decide not to move the way in which the world is. I have to make sure that I do, and in an ethical and probable way.
And also at the same time find a way to protect the value that's inherent in your work, because a lot of artists run into the conundrum of, do I kind of give it away for free for exposure, or do I be the first one to safeguard the value that I'm putting out there in the world? And
Exactly.
that's a hard thing for young artists, especially. I mean, people who are just barely starting out, zero commissions, zero exhibitions. It's a hard thing for people to know how to navigate because they know their value, right? But they're often being told by everyone else that, well, maybe in a few years, honey, So if you had a young artist asking you, how do I navigate this? I'm just starting. What would you tell her or him?
Okay. First off, I would tell her, if you think that you can, you can. Go with that. First and foremost, like ride it all the way through, see it through, and always be willing to pivot if needed. Because art also crosses business. There's this intersection that people don't really talk about. So if you can, because we do live in a world where you have Google and AI, research business tools that you'll need when it is in your industry, because it is really important, especially contract work. Most people who are starting off don't have the funds to hire a lawyer, but some lawyers work pro bono. Just try to seek out a mentor when it comes to contractual work, so you're able to make sure that everything and anything that you do is contracted for and you're protected.
Did you have a mentor, whether it was in terms of your legal work or your artistic work or both? Did you have someone that really helped you in that sense?
So I haven't found anyone who is a little mixture of both like I have many mentors as I've gone into different industries and different fields. Right now, my mentor and maestro is virtually Barbara from the Catalan Barber family that owns Studio 46. He is and has taught me about printmaking, but also he's taught me a little bit more about just patience of being an artist, because I see how he works. It's crazy because he speaks every other language other than English, okay? And I speak no other language other than English. So for us to work 8 hours a day and have verbal communication, but we don't really understand what we're saying, but we understand what we're saying, is wild. So I am learning a ton from him. His sense of emotion when he works, just so patient, like he doesn't get riled up. Of course, that comes with experience. And so that's what you look for when you are looking for a mentor and a maestro. You want someone who's experienced, who teaches you how to navigate through the day-to-day of being an artist.
As you mentioned, a lot of people don't understand the challenges that come along with being a professional artist that don't have to do only with seeking your next inspiration. There's all kinds of stuff, all the business, all the logistics, all the legal stuff. It's good to know that you've got people in the community that you can rely on in that sense. Can you tell me a little bit about them?
They are a very well-known Catalan family and very well known as the masters of printmaking. So Joan Barbara, which is I'm gonna get this all confused. He is the grand member of the family who pretty much put them on the map for printmaking. And so the home is home to not just the Barber family, but also a lot of the greats. John Barbara, he was the maestro for South Salvador Dali. He was the maestro for Picasso and other well-known artists. So when you go in the house, it's like a living, breathing art museum. You see all the pictures with Mr. Barbara and Dali and all the images, the prints that they worked on together. It was a wonderful experience. They also offer art residencies, and that's what I completed while I was there as well. And anyone who's an artist here, I highly recommend you try this residency, even if you're not into printmaking, because printmaking wasn't something that I'm well versed in, but it was an opportunity to learn something new. And also, I love adventures. So I'm here for the adventure. Sign me up. Let's go. And it was beautiful. I had a great time. The family extending their hand out to the community, opening their doors to assist artists that want to learn more and then work on the same printing machines as the greats, be in that same atmosphere. It's such a beautiful vibe. It's such a beautiful thing.
That's really interesting. It's so fascinating, just the people in this community. The community of Barcelona is really amazing when it comes to art.
It is. It really is.
Besides your relationship with them, you found that this is a supportive community and you feel like you're going to stay.
Oh, definitely. Like I said, Barcelona fosters my creative side. The fact that I can go outside, see a color like in nature, and then come home and then try to replicate that, that's nothing but creativity in the air. And there's so many artists here. There's so many artists here. So the people that you interact with sometimes, they're usually an artist or some type of artisan. And so it's just really cool. Also the climate, come on. The weather is just kiss. It's a beautiful place and I hope to be here as long as possible.
You just finished this exhibition. I don't want to say what's next because that's like with artists, you do an album, you make an exhibition, and people are like, what's next? It's like having a baby. You're like, I just had this one. Can you wait? So for now, the body keeps the score is your main focus for a while, or is there other things that you've got on the horizon? I don't want to ask it without putting the proper emphasis and importance on the fact that you are in the middle right now of presenting a new work.
I'm gonna be honest. I am an artist who paints from expression, like pure emotion. So I could see myself going in so many different ways, but I can tell you what I really want right now. It would be amazing next year to exhibit in my hometown. And it also will be amazing next year to complete a new art residency, preferably in West Africa. I really think it will go beyond my art, kind of like connect me with spirit. I'm really interested in like where that segues me into. Experiencing that while also having the body keeps the score continuing into different galleries and different places around the world would be what I strive for within this next year.
With that in mind, I mean, this idea that you're painting from emotion and also what you mentioned before about how it's very important to you to continue to support however you can this idea of growing generational wealth for the Black community and where you're from. With everything that's going on in the United States right now, does any of that impact? I'm sure it does, but so how does that impact your work? If there's a specific way that you can quantify it, have you noticed that observing from afar what's going on in the States has had a specific impact on your work?
It's going to be really hard for me not to feel a huge impact when things are changing economically and socially and legally that way, especially in my home country. I feel like there's going to be a time where it's going to be expressed. I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but because I am an immigration attorney, I have so many stories, so much that is inside me that I haven't even been able to unlock because this entire time I've been unlocking myself and my own past trauma. So I haven't caught up to this age, Christy, yet. I'm pretty sure it's going to come out. When? I just don't know. But I do expect it to impact my work. I do.
That's an interesting way to put it, this idea of having to unlock yourself before you can unlock anything else as an artist, but as a human, just as a person. This went by way faster than I expected it to. Have a nice rest of the afternoon.
You too. Ciao.
Thank you so much, Chris, for taking the time to talk with us, with me today on the Metropolitan Culture Corner. I honestly felt like that went by in like 5 minutes. I could have asked you 1,000 more questions, but it's been a pleasure speaking with you, getting to know you, learning about what you do, and best of luck with all your work and your projects to come. And to all of you watching, you know we couldn't do this without you. Thank you very much for watching as always. And remember that you can catch up on all the interviews that you might have missed on the Barcelona Metropolitan website and official YouTube channel going all the way back to March 2020, which is when we first started this monthly collaboration. It's such a pleasure to be able to showcase the fascinating creative minds that we've got here in the city of Barcelona. I will see you next month, same time, same channel, and thank you for supporting local art and culture.